There is no beating around the bush. Giannis and the Bucks have some serious talks ahead of them. And there is one scenario that might tickle the Bucks' interest when it comes to trading their superstar. The offer that they are about to receive from a team loaded with youth, the Spurs. So, why are the Spurs the best landing destination for Giannis? And what can the Bucks receive for the man who led them to the chip back in 2021? The Milwaukee Bucks have been eliminated from the 2024/25 playoffs in a heartbeat, losing 4-1 against the Pacers. This was definitely an unexpected scenario from a team that expected to make a deep playoff run. However, it prompts some serious talks ahead of them. Is their future lying in Giannis? They have no flexibility, and they are yet to pay him just under $55 million next season. So with Lillard out with a torn ACL for the entirety of 2025/26, and Brook Lopez as well as Bobby Portis yet to sign their contracts, the Bucks might be looking at a rebuild sooner rather than later. The team might be forced to ask for a trade of Giannis because of the fact that they don't have any tradable first-round picks until 2031. To top that off, they would receive a new version of Lillard 2 years from now, one in which he is 36 years old and comes from injuries that ended the careers of many superstars in the past. Apart from the torn ACL, Lillard was diagnosed with a deep vein thrombosis in his calf in March, so all in all, I wouldn't say the Bucks should rely heavily on him to support the cause of keeping Giannis at bay. In reality, Milwaukee's roster is why they are nowhere near the depth they had back in 2021 when they led a successful comeback against the Suns in the finals. Furthermore, they cannot count on the service of Drew Holiday, a player who was pivotal in their championship run. To top that off, elite shooters like Donte DiVincenzo and Torrey Craig have also abandoned ship. And did we say that Lopez and Portis are out of contract at the end of this year? Yes, I believe we already did. A lot was bet on the return of Chris Middleton and the acquisition of Kyle Kuzma, an asset that the Bucks had to give up the injury-prone Middleton as well as draft picks in order to receive an all-rounder to run it back like they did in 2021. But reality struck them hard in Game 1, where in 21 minutes, Kuzma pulled the cardio game against the Pacers. That being said, there is plenty to think about if you are in the front office of Milwaukee. For starters, you'd have to think about the future of the team, and right now, that doesn't seem like a very bright thing for you to be looking at without giving up your most valuable asset. The Spurs have emerged as a potential candidate to land Giannis, and according to The Athletic, the Western Conference competitor might have exactly what the Bucks need in what would be a win-win situation for both sides. In the publication regarding the blockbuster trade, The Athletic wrote, "No, Bucks fans, you are not getting Victor Wembanyama for Giannis, but you might get Stephon Castle. The Spurs also have 2 2025 lottery picks, their own and Atlanta's, an unprotected 2027 pick from Atlanta, and several swaps. Plus, they can deal their own picks in 2029 and 2031. Keldon Johnson and Harrison Barnes would be the salary ballast. If Giannis was okay going to any non-glamour market, this is probably the one where the allure is clear and the trade assets make sense. The assets are definitely there, and apart from that, the need to make a move if you are the Bucks is also very strong. It's not going to look great if you continue with the same mindset of keeping things the same and hoping that a miracle will happen with players like Kuzma. We've seen him in the Wizards. We've seen what he can do if he is given a bit more playtime. He might not be that guy. You'd be smart to think about the future while you still have a valuable asset in your hands, and according to Brian Windhorst from ESPN, the Spurs' offer is just up there with the one that the Rockets might make for the Greek Freak as well. When talking about potential trade spots for Giannis, Windhorst went on to express his opinion about the Rockets and the Spurs, further adding, "I want to point 2 teams out to you, the Spurs and the Rockets. Both of them are in the lottery. San Antonio, I know Houston is still playing, but they are in the lottery. They have Phoenix's pick, which is another whole problem. They have a whole bunch of pieces on their roster. What if they hop up into that top 4? Look out there." The other one is the Spurs. They have 2 picks in this lottery. Now combined, there's only a 30% chance of getting into the top 4. What if one of them does? What if both of them do? All of a sudden, you've got San Antonio with Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, and potentially a game-changing draft pick with the Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle, sitting there as well. And this is why the situation works for both teams. Yes, you might think that Spurs would be giving up their future for a win-now situation, but they are not trading for a man past his prime. Quite the contrary, they are trading for a man who is dominating in his team but needs a bit of help from the role players. If you combine Giannis with Wemby, you're going to receive a powerful duo at the front and a potential versatility from the Greek Freaks playing positions. The stats don't lie either. In the NBA postseason history, no other player averaged more than 33 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a block per game in a minimum of 5 games played. Strikingly enough, Giannis and the Bucks lost all 5 of the games, which just goes to show that his one-man dominance is not going to work on the Bucks. At least, not in the foreseeable future. Spurs are still a very young team, but they are definitely ready to leave the development phase and focus on the win-now mentality. Anyone beyond Wemby is tradable, although they would be very smart to keep Stephon Castle and Fox as their backcourt duo. Still, the GOAT potential sits with Wemby, and it is only a matter of time until he is utilising his full potential and posting unreal numbers in the playoffs. Combine this with Giannis's gameplay, and you'll have a lethal duo at the front as well. So, who says no to a trade scenario between the Bucks and the Spurs? Of course, the fact that it's a blockbuster trade means that other teams will likely get involved, especially given the fact that the Bucks do not control their draft picks. This would mean that the Spurs would have to pay a heftier amount of money in order to convince Milwaukee that the trade is worth it, which would see them giving up assets like Sochan and Keldon. It wouldn't be the perfect scenario to see Devin Vassell leaving as well, but the Spurs are now trying to take back less money than they send out in order to avoid being hard-capped at the first apron. At the end of the day, the Spurs would have to part ways with 4 rotational pieces and 4 first-round picks if they are going to acquire the services of Giannis. However, if they manage to pull this trade while keeping Castle, Fox and Wemby on the team, then it's definitely a no-brainer decision to go for. On the other hand, the Bucks will be able to look for their future and start everything from ground zero. What do you think about a potential trade between the Bucks and the Spurs that would send shockwaves throughout the entire sport? Let us know in the comments below.